I had noticed my wife spending a lot of time on her phone lately, always texting and smiling in a way that made my stomach twist. I felt a knot of worry tighten inside me, but I pushed those feelings aside, thinking maybe I was just being silly. Then, one day, she accused me of cheating. It hit me like a lightning bolt. I was confused and hurt, trying to explain that I would never do that to her. But as I listened to her words, I started to feel something strange, like the truth was hiding just behind her accusations. Later, I discovered that she was the one being unfaithful. It was a shocking twist that left both of us and everyone around us silent. I couldn't believe how quickly everything had changed, and it made me question what trust really meant in our relationship. What happened next turned our whole world upside down. As sunlight poured into the living room, the air was thick with tension. My heart raced when Sarah accused me of cheating. It felt like a storm had hit me out of nowhere. Her anger crashed over me, and I struggled to breathe. How could she think that? I'd always been faithful. But when I looked into her tear-filled eyes, I could see her heart was breaking. Doubt wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. I tried to comfort her, but my words seemed to disappear into thin air. Each time I denied it, she pulled further away. I wanted to fix this mess, to rebuild the trust that had crumbled so quickly. But how could I when she wouldn't open up? I felt lost, like a ship stranded in the vast ocean. "Please, Sarah," I pleaded, "tell me why you think this way." But she just turned away, hiding behind her pain. Days turned into weeks of silence. I missed our laughter. I wanted to hold her close and take away her hurt, but my every move pushed her further. The shadow of suspicion loomed over our home, making it hard to breathe. My heart ached for both of us and for the love slipping away. I knew I had to break through this darkness and reach her somehow. One night, I found her sitting on the couch, tears streaming down her face. "Why won't you believe me?" I asked, my voice shaking. She looked up, her eyes filled with anger and hurt. "You don't understand. I saw the messages." My stomach twisted. "Messages? What messages?" She hesitated, then spat out, "The ones that say, 'You don't love me anymore.'" I couldn't believe it. "That's not true. I love you. I've always loved you." Her expression softened for a moment, but doubt flickered back in. "Then why does it feel like you're hiding something from me?" I took a step closer, desperate. "I'm not hiding anything. Please, let's talk about this. We can fix it together." But she shook her head, retreating into her shell. The room felt colder, and I realized I'd to fight harder. I wouldn't let our love slip away. I'd to find a way to break through the walls she'd built around her heart. As I sat down beside her, I whispered, "I'll prove my love to you. Just give me a chance." The battle for her trust had begun, and I was ready to fight. The weight of doubt pressed down on Sarah like a heavy stone. I could see it in her eyes. The guilt of questioning me gnawed at her. Our once strong bond was unraveling fast, as whispers of suspicion crept in. Each text I received made her flinch. Every laugh with my colleagues felt like a betrayal. "Why are you smiling?" she snapped one evening, her voice shaky. Her face drained of color, eyes darting like she was searching for proof of my betrayal. "I'm just talking to friends, Sarah," I replied, frustration bubbling up. "You need to trust me." But trust was slipping through our fingers. Each accusation cut deep, leaving me hurt and confused. I could see her sadness mixing with anger, creating a storm inside her. "Maybe I'm the fool here," she muttered, turning away, tears brimming. Felt helpless, wanting to pull her back from this dark place. "It's not like that. I care about you," I pleaded, desperate for her to see the truth, but she was lost, trapped in her own fears. The shadows of doubt loomed larger, threatening to swallow us whole. I'd to find a way to reach her before our love became just a memory shadowed by betrayal and pain. "Sarah, please," I called out, stepping closer. "Let's talk about this. We can fix it." She hesitated, her breath shaky. "Can we? Or is it too late?" Even though I tried to keep things normal, our home felt like a war zone. Every day was harder than the last. The air was thick with tension, and simple tasks felt impossible. I'd step into the kitchen, and the silence slammed into me. I could, feel Sarah's eyes boring into me, filled with doubt and hurt, while I struggled to believe what was happening. Things had changed so much. We used to laugh over dinner, sharing funny stories. Now, every meal felt like a standoff. I wanted to reach out, to tell her it was okay, but there was a huge gap between us. I was sinking under her accusations, and she was caught in a storm of jealousy and fear. I could see the anger bubbling inside her, but every time I tried to talk, she shut me out. I felt like a ghost in my own house. I wanted to scream, cry, or just run away. Instead, I sat in silence, trapped in a never-ending cycle of blame. Every time I looked at Sarah, I saw betrayal written all over her face. It was overwhelming. Our once cozy home now felt like a cage filled with doubt. We were stuck in this fight, both too hurt to reach out and heal the wounds we'd caused each other. "Why don't you trust me?" I finally blurted out one night, my voice shaking. "Because you never give me a reason to," Sarah shot back, her eyes blazing with anger. I ran my hands through my hair, frustration bubbling up inside me. "I'm trying. Can't you see that?" "Trying isn't enough," she yelled, her voice echoing off the walls. "You broke my heart." I felt the sting of her words hit me hard. My heart raced as I realized we were both drowning in our own pain, too scared to admit it. I glanced at her, waiting for her to say something, anything, but she just turned away, her face a mask of hurt. We were lost in our own chaos, trapped in a cycle of toxic love, manipulation, and heartbreak. I felt trapped in a messy situation, and I knew I'd to ask for help. I couldn't keep living like this, stuck between Sarah's accusations and my need to prove I was innocent. So, I decided to call Mark. He always listened, and I hoped he could help me figure things out. We met at a coffee shop. I was nervous as I spilled everything out. "Mark, Sarah thinks I'm cheating," I said, my voice shaking. "I don't know how to make her believe me." He nodded, really listening, and I felt a small sense of relief, but the walls between Sarah and me were still high. "Have you thought about how she feels?" Mark asked. His question hit me hard. I hadn't really considered her feelings. I was so busy defending myself that I forgot about her hurt. "I just want her to trust me," I said, frustration bubbling up. Mark leaned in closer. "You have to break down those walls. Show her you care." His words stuck with me as I left the cafe. I felt a little lighter, but doubt gnawed at my insides. How could I fix what felt so broken? I'd to talk to Sarah, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. The hurt between us was thick, and I feared what would happen next. As doubt crept in, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong between Sarah and me. Accusations hung in the air, turning our love into a puzzle I couldn't solve. I replayed every moment we shared. Was her anger real, or just her fears acting up? Every time I looked at her, I felt a stab of betrayal. The silence felt heavy, almost crushing. I reached out, trying to show her I wasn't guilty, but the walls she built were high and strong. My patience was fading fast. I wanted to save us, but how could I when she wouldn't even talk? Did I miss something? I wondered. Was I so wrapped up in my own life that I ignored her? Guilt gnawed at me like a hungry wolf. I needed to know what was wrong, but every time we spoke, it turned into a fight, pushing us further apart. Day after day, the doubt felt like a weight on my chest. I was stuck in a loop of hurt and confusion. I knew I'd to face her, to dig for the truth. But what if that truth shattered everything? My heart raced at the thought. I felt her slipping away, like grains of sand in my hand. "Sarah, we need to talk," I finally blurted out one evening, desperation in my voice. She narrowed her eyes, crossing her arms. "About what? You think I'm just going to listen?" "Please," I urged. "I can't keep doing this. I need to know what's going on." "You can't handle the truth," she shot back, her voice cold. "What truth?" I pressed, feeling my heart thump louder. "Maybe you're not the one I thought you were," she said, turning away. The words stung. My world felt like it was crumbling. I'd to fight back. "Sarah, don't walk away. I love you." "Love? Is that what you call this?" she snapped, her back still turned. Losing Sarah felt like a punch to the gut. I was confused and sad, like I was sinking in quicksand. Every day, it seemed like we were drifting farther apart. The silence between us was deafening. I knew I hadn't cheated, but her constant accusations made me doubt everything. I needed answers, something to fix the mess we were in. I knew I'd to talk to Sarah calmly, not with anger. I needed her to see that I was still in this fight for us. The truth was messy, but I was determined to get to the bottom of it. Love could be rebuilt, even after the hardest times. Sarah, we need to talk, I said, my voice steady. She looked at me, her eyes filled with doubt. About what? You think I'm the problem? I don't know, but we can't keep doing this. I want to understand, I replied, my heart racing. Her anger flared. You think I'm the one who messed everything up? You weren't there for me. I know I made mistakes, but we can fix this together, I urged. For a moment, we just stared at each other, the air thick with tension. I could feel the weight of our hurt, but I also sensed a flicker of hope. Maybe I've been pushing you away, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Then let's stop. Let's fight for us, I said, taking a step closer. How do you face someone when their accusations hurt so much? I remember sitting across from Sarah. Her eyes were filled with fire. She thought I was cheating, and it felt like a punch to my gut. I needed to defend myself, but everything was twisted. I tried to explain, but every word just pushed us further apart. Sarah, I'm not cheating, I shouted, my voice shaking. But she was locked up in her own doubts. It felt like she was turning my honesty into guilt, and I couldn't break through. I was stuck, watching her sink deeper into her anger. Talking to her was like walking on thin ice. I wanted to show her my loyalty, but it felt impossible. How could she not see the truth? I started to question everything. Did I miss something? Was there a sign I didn't catch? I knew I'd to confront her, but I was scared of what would happen next. I needed her to see how serious her accusations were. I'd to be strong, even though my heart was breaking. You're hurting us, I begged, but my words just hung there, unanswered. The silence felt louder than her accusations. I felt like I was losing the woman I loved to shadows of doubt. I found the texts late one night, my heart pounding as I scrolled through Sarah's phone. Something felt really wrong, and I'd to know what was going on. As I read the messages, betrayal hit me like a ton of bricks. They were flirty and filled with inside jokes. It hurt to see them. Is she playing me? I thought. We'd a strong connection, or so I believed. But these texts showed me a different side of her, her hidden fears and doubts. It was like looking into a dark mirror. I realized she'd been projecting her worries onto me, thinking I was the one being untrustworthy. Each message felt like a knife twisting in my heart. I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought I was the loyal one. But now I was, staring at proof that Sarah had been unfaithful. How could she accuse me of cheating when she'd already crossed that line? The silence in our home was heavy as I tried to wrap my head around it. I felt trapped in a storm of confusion and pain. The more I read, the clearer it became. We were both in deep emotional trouble. I'd to confront her, but how could I do that without shattering what was left of our relationship? The weight of it all was almost too much to bear. I took a deep breath and decided I couldn't wait any longer. I marched to her room. Sarah, I shouted, we need to talk. She looked up, confusion in her eyes. What is it? I held up the phone, my hands shaking. These texts. What's going on? Her face went pale. I can explain. Explain? You were flirting with someone else, I snapped, feeling the anger boil inside me. It's not what it looks like, she insisted, her voice trembling. But it is, I shot back. You're playing games with my heart. The tension crackled in the air as we faced off. I needed answers, and I wasn't leaving until I got them. The anger between us was thick, like fog in the air. But underneath it all, I felt something worse. Deep betrayal. Sarah, the woman I loved, seemed to have turned against me. Every sharp word from her felt like a knife, slicing through the trust we had. I wanted to shout, to show her I was innocent, but instead, I felt like I was slipping away from her. Days turned into weeks, and silence wrapped around us like a heavy blanket. When I tried to talk, she pulled back, her eyes filled with doubt. I began to question everything, our happy times, our memories. How did we get here? It felt impossible to rebuild trust. Our strong foundation was crumbling, and I was powerless to stop it. I thought about healing. Could we ever fix this? I wanted to comfort her, to remind her of the love we shared. I missed our laughter and the warmth of her smile. But how could I get close when she wouldn't let me? I was trapped in a whirlwind of confusion and pain. Each time I saw her, I felt anger bubble up alongside my desperation. Trust, once our biggest strength, now felt broken and far away. I knew I'd to face my fears. If we wanted to rebuild, we needed to tackle the truth together. But was she ready to fight for us? Or would doubt continue to haunt our hearts? "Sarah," I said one day, my voice shaky. "We need to talk about this. I want to fix things." Her eyes narrowed. "Fix things? You don't get it. I don't know if I can trust you anymore." My heart sank. "But I haven't done anything wrong. You have to believe me." She shook her head, turning away. "Every time I look at you, I see a stranger." I felt my world tilting. "Please don't say that. We can find a way back. I know we can." But she just walked away, leaving me standing there, lost in a storm of emotions. I realized then that if we were going to survive this, we both had to face the dark shadows lurking between us. It was a battle we'd to fight together, or risk losing everything. As I thought about what happened, I realized we'd to face our feelings. This betrayal changed us, but it didn't have to end our love. We could either let it break us or use it to grow stronger. I clung to hope, ready to fight for what we once had, even if it seemed like a huge mountain to climb. "Sarah, we need to talk," I said one evening, my voice shaky. "About what?" she shot back, her eyes filled with hurt. "About us." "About what happened," I replied, heart racing. She crossed her arms, looking away. "What's there to say? You changed. Everything. I want to fix this. I want us back," I pleaded. She hesitated, then whispered, "It won't be easy." "Nothing worth having ever is," I said, hoping she'd see that I was serious. The air was thick with tension, but I knew we'd to push through the pain. This was our chance to find our way back to each other, or risk losing it all. How did I not see the signs of deception right in front of me? Looking back, it all makes sense. Sarah was a master at emotional manipulation. She twisted everything around. When she accused me of cheating, I wondered why. But now I know, it was her own guilt showing through. Late-night phone calls? Check. Secret texts? Check. Suddenly, she needed privacy like it was a new hobby. I felt her pulling away, the walls closing in. Every time I tried to reach out, she pushed me further away. It was like she was building a fortress of lies. I wanted to fix things, but she only kept me in the dark. Now it hurts to see those signs. I was in a storm of confusion, losing my grip. The more I tried to connect, the more I doubted myself. I remember her laughter. It was too loud, too forced. She always glanced around like someone was watching. And if I got too close to the truth, she changed the topic faster than I could blink. In those moments, I should have seen it. The signs were there, shouting for my attention. I questioned everything, feeling the heavy weight of betrayal. I craved clarity, but all I got was silence and shadows. It's a hard lesson learned, one I wish I could erase, but it's now part of my reality. "Why are you acting like this?" I asked one night, desperation in my voice. "Stop being so paranoid," she shot back, eyes darting away. Those words stung. I should have known then. Trust was slipping away, and I was left with nothing but doubt and heartache. It was toxic love, and I was trapped in it. Where could she possibly be going at this hour? I sat in my car, heart racing, trying to make sense of everything. My gut told me something was off. I'd to know the truth. Every minute felt like an hour, and I was filled with anxiety and determination. As I watched her drive away, questions swirled in my mind. What was she hiding? I replayed our last argument, her harsh words echoing in my ears. Why was she shutting me out? Doubts crept in, heavy and suffocating. The streets darkened as I followed her to a part of town I didn't recognize. My heart pounded louder with each turn. I wanted to trust her, to believe we could fix things, but the silence between us was like a deep pit, and I felt lost. Then she parked in a small lot. I kept my distance, breathing fast. This felt wrong. What if she was seeing someone else? A sick feeling twisted in my stomach. I watched as she walked toward a bar. My heart dropped. This was it. I needed answers, and I needed them now. I couldn't let fear hold me back. I'd to confront her, even if it meant facing the worst. With a sudden burst of courage, I stepped out of my car and followed her. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown. I'd to know the truth, but could I handle what I might find? The moment I got home after following Sarah, my heart raced. The late-night phone calls had been eating at me for weeks. I'd catch her whispering, her voice low and secret. Each time, it felt like another crack in our marriage. There was a growing space between us, a gap that felt impossible to close. I thought about those conversations, trying to figure out what she was hiding. I felt like trust was slipping away, like a slow leak in a tire. How could she accuse me of cheating when she was clearly hiding something? I was stuck in a nightmare where the woman I loved was slipping further away. That night, I confronted her. "Who are you talking to on the phone?" I demanded, my voice tight. I needed answers, but she just shrugged, her face hard. "It's just work," she replied. But I saw it, the flash of guilt in her eyes. Betrayal hit me like a heavy stone. How could she do this? My heart pounded as I thought about it. I'd to know the truth. Every late-night call felt like a wall between us. I was losing her, and it scared me. I couldn't let that happen. I'd to dig deeper and find out what she was hiding. I'd to fight for our love, even if it meant facing the darkest secrets. "Who is it, Sarah?" I pressed, my voice sharp. "Just tell me." She turned away, arms crossed. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me," I shot back, frustration bubbling over. I was scared of what I might find, but I felt like I was close to a big secret. That night, I followed Sarah, my heart racing with worry. I'd to figure out why she thought I was cheating. Her constant doubts made me uneasy, and I started to wonder if she was hiding something herself. When I saw her walk into the bar with "Mark," my heart sank. I wanted to yell at them right then, but I stayed hidden in a booth. I could see them laughing and whispering, their heads leaning close. It felt like a punch in the stomach. Were they working together? Had I missed the signs? I listened closely. I caught bits of their chat about my supposed betrayal, and it felt like a weight crushing me. This wasn't just about me. It was about Sarah's fears and her need to shift blame. I realized I was stuck in a messed up game where my loyalty was questioned while she kept her own secrets hidden. The truth was starting to come out, but it made me feel alone and desperate. I couldn't just sit back. I'd to face her and demand answers. I wouldn't let their lies ruin everything I'd worked for. I'd to fight for myself, no matter what it took. "Sarah!" I yelled as I stepped out of the shadows. "What's going on?" She looked startled, then annoyed. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here for the truth." "What's your deal with Mark?" I shot back, anger boiling inside me. She smirked, trying to play it cool. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me." I snapped, ready to uncover the deceit that threatened to tear us apart. The tension hung thick in the air, and I knew this was just the beginning. I stood outside the bar, my heart pounding hard. Betrayal washed over me like cold water. There was Sarah, my wife, laughing with Mark, my best friend. Confusion and anger twisted in my gut. This place felt heavy with secrets and lies, and I was left feeling like a ghost, watching and aching for answers. I slammed my car door, my hands shaking. I couldn't believe what I saw. Mark, the guy I trusted, was sitting across from my wife. The laughter echoed in my ears, sharp and painful. They looked too comfortable, too happy. Were they just sharing drinks or something more? Thoughts raced through my mind. Had I misread every moment with Sarah? Did she find comfort in someone else? My heart dropped at the idea. The love we'd felt so fragile now, like glass ready to shatter. I wanted to storm in there, shout at them, but I froze. What if I was wrong? What if it was innocent? But the weight of suspicion pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. As I stood there, I felt the truth sink in. Trust is hard to fix once it's broken. The silence between us screamed. I felt desperate, wanting to scream for answers, but fear held me back. What if the truth was worse than I imagined? I was stuck, torn between betrayal and the hope that it was all a mistake. My heart pounded as I walked into the bar. I scanned the dark room, searching for Mark. I'd seen him leave with Sarah, and now I'd to face him about the betrayal that could ruin everything. Anger and desperation swirled inside me. How could my friend do this? As I got closer, I saw him laughing, totally unaware of the trouble he was in. I cleared my throat, and his smile dropped. "Mark, we need to talk," I said, my voice shaking but firm. I took a deep breath. "I saw you with Sarah. What's going on?" He looked uneasy, avoiding my eyes. "It's not what you think," he began, but I interrupted him. "Then what's it? I'm here for answers, and I need the truth." Mark glanced around, worried someone might hear us. "It's complicated," he said quietly. "Sarah feels ignored. I didn't mean for it to happen." "Ignored?" I snapped, my frustration boiling. "That doesn't make it okay. I thought you were my friend. You're supposed to help me, not stab me in the back." His eyes dropped to the floor, guilt written all over his face. We stood in silence, our friendship hanging by a thread. I'd to demand answers, but I could feel the cracks forming between us. Would we ever be the same again? What was I missing? The clues were all around me, but I just couldn't see them. As I dug into Sarah's accusations, a light bulb went off. This wasn't just about me cheating. It was about her hidden fears and insecurities. Our relationship had turned upside down, and we were both lost in a maze of confusion and hurt. The deeper I went, the more I understood. Sarah wasn't just furious. She was terrified. She was fighting her own battles, and her anger was like a storm. Each accusation cut like a knife, but they were also her way of screaming for help. I wanted to rebuild our trust, but how could I do that when I felt so betrayed? I paused and thought about what needed to happen. This wasn't just about clearing my name. It was about fixing the bigger mess between us. I realized that when I tried to calm her down, it only made things worse. It was like I was throwing water on a fire, but instead, it just flared up more. Every time I reached out, it felt like I was talking to a wall. Then it hit me. I'd to face not only her fears, but my own too. If we were going to get through this dark time, we'd to tear down the walls we built around our hearts. Secrets had to come out, and the truth had to be laid bare, no matter how painful it might be. "Sarah, we need to talk," I said, my heart racing. "Talk about what? More lies?" she snapped, her eyes blazing. "No, about us. I can't keep pretending everything is okay," I replied, feeling the weight of my words. She hesitated, the anger in her eyes flickering for just a moment. "What do you mean?" "We need to be honest. I want to know what you're really afraid of," I urged, hoping to break through the chaos. Her walls started to crack. "Fine. I'm scared you'll leave me. I can't lose you," she whispered, vulnerability breaking through her tough exterior. I took a deep breath. "Then let's stop hiding. Let's face this together." A rush of shock hit me like a cold wave as I spotted Sarah and Mark at the bar, laughing and leaning in close. My heart plummeted. How could they be so carefree while I was stuck in a storm of confusion and anger? It felt like they were playing a cruel game with my feelings. Just last week, Sarah accused me of cheating. I never did anything wrong. But here she was, snuggled up with my best friend. What were they hiding? Did they plan this together? My thoughts raced, and I felt like a toy in their twisted game. I clenched my fists, a mix of fury and heartbreak boiling inside me. I wanted to scream at them, demand answers, but I just stood frozen. Instead, I took a step back, feeling crushed by my emotions. I needed proof, something to show the truth behind their laughter. "Why would you do this?" I whispered to myself, frustration bubbling over. How could they betray me like this? I felt so alone. I had to figure out what was really happening. This wasn't just about me anymore. I needed to uncover their lies and show them I wouldn't back down. I felt a storm brewing inside me, anger mixed with heartbreak. I had to face Sarah and Mark about what I saw. Their betrayal sliced through me like a knife, and I couldn't just sit back. I took a deep breath, steeled myself, and walked over to them. "Can we talk?" I said, keeping my voice steady. I needed them to hear me. We sat down, and I laid it all out. "You guys broke my trust. What you did feels like a slap in the face." My heart raced, but I pressed on. "Our friendship has changed, and I can't just ignore it. I need to know why." Their faces dropped. Sarah fidgeted, glancing at Mark. "We didn't mean for it to happen," she stammered. "Then talk to me," I shot back, my voice sharp. "I want to understand, not fight. But you need to be honest." As we went back and forth, I realized we'd to find a way to fix this. "We need to work on this together," I said. "I can't heal if you aren't open about everything. We need to be a team." Mark nodded, looking serious. "You're right. We'll be honest from now on." "Yeah," Sarah added, her voice softer. "We'll do better." I felt a flicker of hope, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. Trust was fragile, and family support meant everything. I wanted us all to commit to this, to fight for our bond. "We can start fresh," I said, my heart pounding with uncertainty. "But it won't happen overnight. Are you in?" They both nodded, and for the first time, I felt a hint of relief. Maybe we could stitch this torn fabric back together. After our talk, I felt a flicker of hope, but the weight of what was happening hung over us like a storm cloud. Everything was falling apart. The accusations hit hard, and now I had to deal with the mess. I needed to find a way to help Sarah through her pain. Every second was thick with silence. I knew we'd to face this, but I felt stuck. I wanted to ease her hurt, but how could I? My heart was still bruised from the betrayal. Finding a way forward seemed impossible with all these feelings swirling around us. I tried to stay calm and be there for her, reminding myself that healing takes time. But when I looked at her, I saw doubt and anger staring back. I couldn't just sit back and hope things would get better. I had to do something. So I suggested we go to couples therapy. A professional could help us sort through the mess. Sitting in that office, fear gripped me, but I felt determined too. This was a chance to understand each other and face the consequences together. I prayed it would guide us toward healing, even if it felt like a far-off dream. I realized that facing the consequences meant not just tackling the hurtful things we said, but also digging into our deepest feelings. "Can we even fix this?" Sarah asked, her voice shaky. "I hope so," I replied, my heart racing. "But we've to try." The air was thick with tension, but I knew we'd to confront our issues head-on. As the therapist started asking questions, the truth spilled out like a broken dam. Each word cut deep, exposing our fears and mistakes. It was raw and painful, but it was time to face what we'd done to each other. As I sat in therapy, reality hit me hard. Rebuilding trust was going to be tough, but it was the only way our relationship could survive. Betrayal loomed over us like a thunderstorm. We both hurt, and without fixing trust, we were stuck. Our therapist urged us to be honest, to spill our feelings. I took a deep breath and spoke up. "Sarah, I love you so much," I said, my voice shaking. "But your accusations hurt me deeply. I didn't cheat. I get why you feel scared, though." I watched her face, and I could see her pain reflected back at me. We'd to face our wounds together. Rebuilding a relationship means being brave and vulnerable, and that was our first step. Then it was Sarah's turn. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice small. "I thought you were cheating. My insecurities made me doubt you." Her words hit me like a punch. We were both stuck in our own traps, misunderstanding each other. We needed to open our ears and truly listen. As the session wrapped up, a tiny spark of hope flickered inside me. The road to trust would be long, but we'd taken the first step together. After that first therapy session, I realized we'd to understand each other to move forward. There were so many walls between us that it felt like we were speaking different languages. I listened as the therapist talked about how important it's to be open about our feelings. It hit me hard. I had been so busy defending myself that I forgot to ask Sarah what was really going on inside her head. We both had walls up. I needed to show Sarah I was willing to listen. She needed to feel safe enough to share her fears. I started to see that her accusations weren't just about mistrust. They came from her own hurt and insecurities. I wanted to break through that wall. Taking a deep breath, I decided to be brave. "I feel betrayed and confused," I said. "I love you, and I just want us to fix this." Saying it felt risky, but I'd to let her know I was here for her. I caught a glimpse of understanding in her eyes. It was a tiny flicker, but it mattered. Slowly, we began to peel back the layers of hurt. We'd to listen to each other without judgment. Understanding each other was the first step toward healing what we'd broken. "Why do you always think I'm lying?" she shot back, her voice sharp. "I'm not lying," I replied, feeling the tension rise. "But I want to know how you feel." We were both scared, but I could tell we were getting closer. We needed to face the truth, no matter how painful it was. Learning from the chaos of my marriage has been a wild ride. I never thought I'd be in the middle of such a storm. Accusations flew like arrows, hitting hard and making me think deeply. I knew I'd to grow emotionally. I faced my feelings of betrayal and hurt, and it wasn't just about me. Sarah was hurting too. Rebuilding trust became my mission. I discovered trust isn't just handed out, it's earned. I'd to prove to Sarah that I was loyal. I needed to be open and honest, sharing not just what I did, but how I felt. We had to tackle our problems head on. Avoiding tough talks only made things worse. I learned that real communication was key. I'd to listen to Sarah's fears and share my worries without losing my cool. Our relationship changed in big ways. I realized how quickly misunderstandings could spiral out of control. Looking back, I saw my part in our troubles. I hadn't paid enough attention to Sarah's needs. Rebuilding our relationship felt like walking through a field of hidden bombs. After everything that happened, I knew we'd to figure out how to move forward, but the pain of betrayal was like a thick fog around us. I was ready to fight for us, even though it hurt. We'd to face the truth and acknowledge the pain. It was more than just trust. It was about understanding why we acted the way we did. "I think we should see a therapist," I suggested one night, my voice steady but my heart racing. "It might help us sort through this mess." Sarah hesitated, her eyes darting away, but then I saw a tiny spark of hope. "Maybe," she whispered, uncertainty lacing her tone. We both needed a safe space to talk, to share without fear of judgment. When we finally sat down with the therapist, I could feel the tension in the air. It was awkward at first, but as we started to talk, I realized how much pain we'd both been holding on to. "I feel so alone sometimes," Sarah admitted, her voice shaky. "I'm scared you'll leave me," I confessed, my heart pounding. We were finally being honest, and it felt good, even as the words stung. Each session was tough, but we were slowly finding our way back to each other. I won't sugarcoat it. There were moments I wanted to throw in the towel. Anger bubbled up, and I'd to fight it back. But every time we chose to talk instead of fight, we took a step closer to healing. Love is about understanding and forgiveness, I reminded myself, even when it felt impossible. Together, we were discovering a new side of our relationship, one that was stronger and more real. The road was rough, but I believed we could make it through this dark chapter, hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next.